Hello audience, how are you? I hope you all are well. Welcome back to another video by Ghostly Gloom. Before we begin, I kindly request you to subscribe to Ghostly Gloom and hit the bell icon to receive more videos from us. After watching the video, please take a moment to like it and comment on how you felt while watching. Now, let's dive into the story. The moon hung low in the night sky, casting eerie shadows across the desolate landscape. Sarah, a young woman with a deep fascination for the supernatural, had embarked on a journey to a remote, abandoned asylum rumored to be one of the most haunted places in the country. Armed with her camera and a fearless spirit, she had no idea what terrors awaited her. The asylum, known as St. Agnes Mental Hospital, had been shut down decades ago amid allegations of horrific experiments on its patients. The stories of the asylum's dark history had become the stuff of local legend, and Sarah couldn't resist the temptation to investigate. As she approached the towering, decaying building, a sense of foreboding washed over her. Ivy-clad walls loomed high above, and broken windows gaped like hollow eyes. Sarah knew she should turn back, but her curiosity was a relentless driving force. Entering through a rusted side door, Sarah's flashlight pierced the darkness. The air inside was thick and suffocating, laden with the weight of decades-old despair. She felt as if unseen eyes were following her every move. Her camera clicked and flashed as she ventured deeper into the asylum. The graffiti-covered walls told stories of those who had come before, some seeking thrills, others fleeing in terror. Sarah couldn't help but shiver as she passed a message scrawled in crimson red, "Beware the basement." Ignoring the ominous warning, she descended into the lower levels. The air grew colder, and the sound of her footsteps echoed ominously. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. In the bowels of the asylum, Sarah discovered a series of cramped, windowless rooms. The remnants of restraints and rotting mattresses hinted at unspeakable horrors. She couldn't help but wonder about the suffering that had taken place within these walls. As she explored further, her flashlight flickered, casting her into darkness. Panic welled up inside her, but just as suddenly, the light returned. Sarah took a deep breath and pressed on. In the distance, she heard a faint whisper, too indistinct to decipher. She dismissed it as a trick of her imagination. But then, the whisper grew louder, more distinct, like a chorus of tortured souls. Sarah's heart pounded as she tried to locate the source. In one room, she found an old phonograph, its needle scratching the surface of a dusty record. The chilling melody that emanated from the machine sent shivers down her spine. It was a mournful tune that seemed to beckon her deeper into the asylum. Sarah followed the haunting melody through a labyrinth of narrow corridors. The walls seemed to close in around her, and the oppressive atmosphere grew suffocating. She felt as if she were being drawn into a nightmare. Finally, she reached a massive steel door, half hidden in the shadows. The music was deafening now, echoing through the chamber beyond. Trembling, Sarah pushed open the door and gasped in horror. The room before her was a grotesque theater of the macabre. Rows of ancient, rusted surgical equipment lay haphazardly on blood-stained tables. In the center of the room stood a massive operating table, its surface marred with deep gouges. But it was the walls that truly horrified her. They were adorned with rows of photographs, grainy, black and white images of patients who had once been subjected to unspeakable experiments. Their eyes were empty, their expressions devoid of humanity. Sarah's camera clicked on its own, capturing the gruesome scene. But as she raised her lens, she realized that the figures in the photographs were not as lifeless as they seemed. Their eyes followed her, pleading, accusing. A voice, a terrible, guttural voice, emanated from the darkness. It was a voice filled with anguish, with a thirst for retribution. "You shouldn't have come here," it hissed. Sarah stumbled back, her heart racing. She turned to flee, but found the door had vanished, leaving only a blank wall in its place. Panic surged through her as she realized she was trapped in this nightmare. The voice grew louder, the ghostly figures drawing nearer. They reached out with spectral hands, their touch like ice. Sarah screamed, her cries echoing through the chamber. And then, as suddenly as it had all begun, it stopped. The room was empty once more, the photographs lifeless, the voice silenced. The door reappeared before her, and Sarah stumbled out into the corridor, gasping for breath. She emerged from the asylum, her camera still clutched in trembling hands. The moon had climbed higher in the sky, and the night was still. St. Agnes Mental Hospital loomed behind her, a dark and malevolent presence. Sarah knew she had experienced something beyond explanation, beyond reason. She had witnessed the tormented souls of the past, trapped within the asylum's walls, seeking release. As she made her way back to the outside world, she vowed never to return to that accursed place. The legend of St. Agnes Mental Hospital would live on, a cautionary tale to those who dared to seek the truth in the darkest corners of the world. For Sarah, the horrors she had witnessed would haunt her for the rest of her days, a chilling reminder that some secrets should remain buried, even if they beckon from the depths of the past.